Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we discuss class 11 English, the address. Lesson name, the address, its summary. The story has been set on the aftermath of the destructive Second World War. By the end of the war in 1945, some 60 lakh Jews who were staying in Germany and other territories occupied by the German Nazi forces had been killed systematically by the German Nazi forces led by Adolf Hitler, something which is known as the Holocaust. Hitler and the other like minded Germans had considered the Jews, along with some other races of people, as people of inferior racial quality and as enemies and threats to the German society, and robbed them of all human rights. They first put them in confinement centers known as ghettos, and then to the concentration camps, which were built in many places in Germany, in other occupied territories, and killed them in millions. When the war ended in the year 1945, some of the Jews got liberated from the concentration camps by the Allied armies. The narrator in this story is unmistakably such a survivor of the concentration camps, while others from her family had died. She survived the war and came back in search of her belongings, which had been taken away by Mrs. Dorling, Dorling, from her mother at the start of the war. By the quoted sentence, Mrs. Dorling refers to the Holocaust, saying that she had thought that none of the narrator's family members had been lucky enough to come back. The story, the address, is all about human predicament that follows war. The story narrates how a daughter goes to her native place in Holland in search of her mother's belongings after the war. In the beginning of this story, it is narrated how the protagonist was given a cold reception when she went to her native place after the war in search of her mother's belongings. After ringing the bell of house number 46 in Marconi Street, a woman opened the door. On being introduced, the woman kept staring at her in silence. There was no sign of recognition on her face. The woman was wearing her mother's green knitted cardigan. The narrator could understand that she had made no mistake. She asked the woman whether she knew her mother. The woman couldn't deny this. The narrator wanted to talk her for some time, but the woman cautiously closed the door. The narrator stopped there for some time and then left the place. In the subsequent sections, the memories of the narrator's bygone days come to light. Her mother had provided the address years ago during the war. She went to home for a few days. She could find that various things were missing. At that time, her mother told her about Mrs. Dorling. She happened to be an old acquaintance of the narrator's mother. Lately, she had renewed contact with her and had been coming there regularly. Every time she left their house, she took something home with her. She told that she wanted to save all their nice possessions. The next day, the narrator saw Mrs. Dorling going out of their house with a heavy suitcase. She had a fleeting glimpse of Mrs. Dorling's face. She asked her mother whether the woman lived far away. At that time, the narrator's mother told about the address number 46 Marconi Street. After many days after the war, the narrator's the narrator was curious to take record of the possessions that must still be at number 46 Marconi Street. The conclusion part of the story describes the second visit of the narrator as the narrator's first visit yielding no result. So she planned to go once again. Interestingly, a girl of 15 opened the door to her. Her mother was not at home. The narrator expressed her wish to wait for her. The girl accompanied her to the passage. The narrator saw an old fashioned iron candle holder hanging next to a mirror. The girl made her sit in the living room and went inside. The narrator was horrified to find herself in a room she knew and didn't know. She found herself in the midst of familiar things which she longed to see again, but which troubled her in the strange atmosphere. She had no courage to look around her, but she no longer had desire to possess them. She left the room, resolved to forget the address and move on. That's it. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe our channel. We'll meet again.